is the first time, welcome. Just real quick, just want to say hi. We're Improving Enterprises. We're here all the time. If anyone has any questions, I'll just leave a quick card out on the table by where you signed up tonight. If no one did sign up, please take advantage of possibly winning the $100 prize gift card. Probably gonna be worth some software or something. So, but if you have any questions, I'll leave some cards out there. And feel free to call me or email me. So, enjoy the talk. Thanks.
So the first thing we want to do is recognition. If it's your first time here, raise your hand. Andrew. All right, very good. That's awesome. So it's good to have new blood in here. We want you guys to get to know other people. So my networking advice, 2 questions. What are the 2 questions, Andrew?
What do you do and what do you love to do?
What do you do? What do you love to do? All right? So if you don't know anyone, ask a stranger. As soon as you become friends with that stranger, have them introduce you to someone they know. And if you're still afraid, come see me because I know most everyone here. I'll introduce you, okay? Not shy about doing that. Now, I need you to stand up if you are hiring. Yeah, boom. Go ahead.
Okay, I have an opportunity available in San Antonio in case anybody wants to make a move. We're looking for UX managers, come through the ranks of web design, and if you know a little print from the beginning, that'd be great too. So come see me. Want to move? Great place. Hi.
And they may also have something opening up in Irving.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, I am also with Improving. So we are hiring. So Dave, Belcher, myself, we got Kevin back here in black, and I think that's it for today. A lot of UX people, but we're hiring UX. We got a couple positions here. You don't have to be. So
Keith.
Yeah, keep a carrier inside, junior and senior UX in Dallas. 80 to about 110,000 a year, W-2 full benefits. So please see me now or afterwards.
Andrew, you're still hiring?
Internships.
Yeah, just stand up.
Yes, we're hiring internships pretty much every function of the business. So, no, it's not a sweatshop internship or a sweatshirt one, but startup in New York. It's company's called Ride Connect. But tangible projects for each function of the business. So you'll come away with something, college credit. It's half virtual, half on-site, so you'll get that exposure as well, that experience. So, yeah.
Great. Roger. Melville. Where you at? Come on.
I'm right here. Oh.
Yeah, I'll do some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on up.
Sure.
So, for those of you who don't know Roger is kind of a blends art and design. He's got a couple of cool things here. Sparkline.
Some of you may have seen my Kickstarter, and some of you may have seen like a big V in the last couple of years, some 6-foot-tall iPhones and all in a circle that we called my phone hinge, and then the first one was all, like 3 in a row, and it was called My Favorite Machine, and it's celebrating the affection that we have for devices, for design, technology that serves us well, right? And that's kind of a mystical thing, almost this emotional design we talk about a lot. But the problem was the big phones, 6 foot tall. I actually had people lift these and try to figure out how they could put this in their living room, but it's not going to happen. So I'm looking at smaller things that sort of have to carry forward the same idea. And some of the motifs that we explored are just this simple line. If you're a data person and you do like BI, you may be aware of a thing called a spark line. It's just a very simple little line that shows something really important. And we all have, the idea is, back to the emotional side. What's your spark line? Okay, that says something about you, right? So here's the spark line. So these are just very simple devices that are made to hold your iPhone, smartphone, your Droid, whatever, even a Windows tablet. Windows 8 tablet fits on this. It's nice and sturdy, made of steel. But there's tons of things out there to put your phone on or your tablet on, but this is art. That's what makes it different. So I want to, first of all, let you pick one as As a thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Actually, I was just playing with you earlier.
Oh, there you go. So you already picked the one.
I think that it was a product that I could give away.
That's yours. And then the other three are for giveaway too, and I think I'll ask for some help in figuring out how we're going to give these away, maybe after the presentation.
Yeah, after
if we have
thing,
questions.
maybe it'll be best question or best networker.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so my smart plan, now you know.
All right, and then, Lisa is finishing up. Who was at the UX at UTD meeting the other night? Okay. There's going to be some cool stuff happening at UTD. So they have UX at UTD. We are going to coordinate with them on scheduling. So if you live in and around the campus, the next meeting will be sometime in April. It'll be a resume and portfolio workshop. And we're going to work with people to get that really good content for that. And there'll be some one-on-one time with some key people. So that's UX at UTD. Lisa's going to talk about the UXPA salary survey, right?
I am. How many of you are members of UXPA? Good, the numbers are getting bigger. That's awesome. I'm going to give you another incentive to join. First of all, I'd like all of you before April 1st, that's Monday, actually it's Tuesday, to go to this address. It'll be pretty easy to remember. It's https surveymonkey.com. Most of you know SurveyMonkey, right? /s/2014 UXPA salary. And we want all of you, whether you are UXPA members or not, to please partake of the survey. The more people we get, the better the numbers, because we're really trying to do an international survey. We've got lots of respondents from the UK, France, Singapore, South America, we're starting to pick up. So if you want to make sure that all of your information about your salaries and so forth are counted in the survey, I would really appreciate this. One of the advantages of being a member is you will get all of the detailed information as a result of the survey. So if you don't join UXPA, you'll get the summary view, but if you are a member of UXPA and you're looking for a way to convince your boss that you're worth more money, this is going to be a really good way to do that. So we have two membership levels. We have the associate membership level, which is $69, and then we have the global sustaining membership, which is $139. So if you're at the point in your career where you can afford $139, I suggest that you go to uxpa.org and go through the membership process. I will say one caveat: we know that the form is not perfect, and I know that's pretty awful for a UX organization, but we're working with the development team that built it to make it better. So we've been hearing some rumblings about how it's not exactly user-friendly, and that's why we're working with the development team. They haven't done a whole lot of this before. So anyway, so that's my little commercial. If you are interested in anything else or have other questions about UXPA, come and see me after the meeting.
Thanks. And then we have a speakers boot camp, April 11th. So if you want to learn how to propose, plan, present, get accepted at an industry event, or just become a better speaker, that's available to you. Myself, Keith Anderson, Adam Polanski, and Jay Shu will be teaching that. It's a 4-hour workshop, so we'll meet in the morning, go till about 1, and then break bread someplace. So it'll be a really good workshop. That's on Friday, April 11th. Now, Soon gave a great talk. Go ahead, stand up. Great talk last year at Big Design Conference. This is what everybody was talking about on the day that he presented, and this is a fantastic talk. Be prepared to be amazed. Take it away, sir.
All right, let's get started. So, there was a president. When he was a baby, he was given to the zoo as a donation. The people at the zoo thought it'd be awesome to have a polar bear and accepted it. But the problem was, they didn't have a proper habitat for a polar bear. So, they decided to raise some money and build a nice new home. Meanwhile, they had to keep him in a cage. the cage was just big enough for me to take 3 steps to the left and 3 steps to the right. So that's all I did every day, taking 3 steps to the left and 3 steps to the right. After about 6 months, they finally finished the construction and invited everyone to come out and check out this adorable creature in his new home. The newly built habitat was amazing. There are giant rocks, waterfalls, and plenty of room for him to run around and play. So everyone gathered around, and the cage door finally opened. The polar bear slowly came out of the cage. He looked up at the people, looked down, sniffed the ground a couple of times, and guess what he did? He took 3 steps to the left and 3 steps to the right. 3 steps to the left and 3 steps to the right. So just like the polar bear, we're still using our mobile devices like the way we used to, an old computers with a mouse. Even though we have these amazing touchscreen devices that allow us to move freely in any direction we want, most of our mobile experiences are still limited to scrolling up, down, left, and right in a very basic grid or list views. And we still design apps that require us to tap on tiny little buttons to initiate some of the most basic functions when they can be done with simple gestures. It's as if we're still trying to scroll, point, and click with a mouse on our touchscreen devices. Let's check out these 2 screens. One on the left is Windows 1.0 from 1985. And on the right is Zappos, one of the top-rated shopping apps on iPad. If you compare these 2 screens, you'll see that the fundamental structure and the way we navigate through such space haven't really changed much. And here's some more examples. CNN, Yellow Page, NDA. From the shapes of our mobile devices to the way we use our screen space, we're obsessed with boxes. We're fitting everything neatly in such a limited space, and we allow these restrictions to dictate our digital experiences, while ignoring an infinite amount of digital space available behind the physical screen, and our ability to navigate through such space efficiently and directly with our fingers. So it's no longer technical limitations that's holding us back, but our old habits and outdated expectations that's holding us back from taking a step towards the future. So what can we do to truly take advantage of today's touchscreen capabilities and make our mobile experiences more efficient and effortless? Let's mention what if. Could you turn the light off? And that side of the Sorry, thank you. Sorry. So let's imagine what if. What if we can replace a conventional rectangular shaped screen with an oval shape? Ergonomically, it would fit better in our hands and allow us to reach across the screen with that thumb much easier because there are no rectangle corners that get in our way. But let's dig a little deeper and think about what it would do for us at a more fundamental level, what it really means to replace a rectangular shaped screen. From the electrons to atoms and molecules, none of the natural building blocks or structures of this universe is built in rectangular shapes. Rectangular shapes are often associated with being boring, stunning, rigid, and elementary, while circular shapes are associated with being simple, efficient, fluid, and limitless. So if you apply the same design principles, I believe it would allow us to make our mobile devices more efficient and beautiful, while reminding us that our digital experiences shouldn't be limited by the physical shape or size of our mobile devices, but only by our imaginations. Now, let's take a look at the home screen. What if all the apps on our home screen can be organized organically based on our use patterns, such as how often and recently we have used our apps? And what if we can move around freely in any direction we want? Zoom in and out to see all our apps at a glance, and customize them by rearranging, resizing, and grouping them together any way we like. It would eliminate the limitations of linear navigation method that we see on mobile devices today, where we can only scroll left and right and be forced to go through page 2 in order to see page 3. Bottom line, we don't have to fit our information in a box anymore. Now, our information can be molded, arranged, and served to us purely based on their relevance. From organizing files, to solving long math equations, and even looking for a perfect pair of shoes. We can do much more efficiently if we can just break away from traditional interface structures and take advantage of the control that we have with today's technologies. Just like the keyboard, we can remove a number of unnecessary keys and buttons from all the apps on our devices simple gestures. By doing so, our interface can be more minimalistic and beautiful, while making our experiences more efficient, simple, and effortless. For example, let's take a look at the camera. Or if we can strip it down so we can focus on what's really important. In my case, I take a lot of pictures of my wife because she's important to me. And definitely because she's prettier than me. Now I can tap anywhere on the screen to take pictures of her without having to restrict my finger to tapping on a specific button in a specific place. Tap and hold anywhere on the screen to open the camera menu and tap again to close it. Swipe across the screen to switch between different modes. Scroll up and down to preview my pictures one by one. Or zoom out to see all my pictures at a glance. Or zoom out even further to a timeline view so I can quickly find the picture I took 6 months ago. As you can see, we can do all these things without having a single button on the screen. And by removing all the clutter of a traditional camera interface, we can truly immerse ourselves in the experience. Almost in a way, we can just forget about the technology. So we can focus on what's really important and enjoy what's really in our hands. Just like the physical interfaces with rigid structures give way to more flexible touchscreen interfaces. Touchscreen interfaces that do not take full advantage of today's technologies, touchscreen capabilities, will give way to much simpler interfaces that do. And that's just the beginning. What you're seeing on the screen is an actual hologram created by Microsoft Research. As we explore outside the boundaries of physical screen space using projections and holograms in the near future, gesture-based interactions are going to be more and more relevant because it allows us to navigate through such space more efficiently and naturally, using a set of conventions that's not much different from the conventions of our reality. And here's another example. This video is called the V-Motion Project. The DJ is throwing a live performance using 3D interfaces that evolve around his body movements and the progression of the music. Because these actions are not restricted by a rigid traditional interface, he can move around freely while being able to control various instruments, sound effects, volume, speed, as well as the visual effects. The result is a very exciting and dynamic performance. Let's watch the video for a few more seconds. So this is what's possible today, and this is what's available to us today. But unfortunately, we often find ourselves retrofitting these amazing technologies to accommodate our old ways, like using lip-motion air gestures to play the same old 2D games that was designed for touchscreen devices, or holding on to certain artifacts from previous generations and refusing to learn something new, even though it can benefit us in the long run. And Samsung Galaxy Note is a perfect example of such a case. Instead of making the interface more touch-friendly, they're bringing back this ancient tool of stylus from 2007 to make us try harder and be more accurate with our gestures, so that they don't have to change a thing from their existing conventions and structures. You see, it's not the screen size that needs to get bigger or extra accessories that we need. It's our mind that needs to expand so we can recognize and take advantage of the potentials and possibilities within the digital space. So as you can see, no amount of technical advancements or innovations can make a difference if you're not willing to make a change. And the change has to take place at the fundamental level. An American inventor named Buckminster Fuller once said, "We never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." He built a car that had a fuel efficiency of 30 miles per gallon and top speed of 9 miles per hour back in 1933. And I believe he's absolutely right. It's time for us to reevaluate everything we once considered tried and true, adopt a new set of conventions that can truly take advantage of today's touchscreen capabilities and what's to come in the near future. Ergonomic shape, organic structures, simple gestures, and minimalist interfaces. These are important key principles that can truly enhance our mobile experiences and other digital experiences in the mobile space. But before we can adopt this new set of conventions, we need to address certain issues regarding gestures. People often tell me that gestures are confusing, and I tell them, yes they are, but only because we're using it wrong. Currently, there are no standards, rules, or guidelines governing how we should communicate with our machines through gestures. So everyone's doing something different. Google's doing one thing, Samsung's doing another, and Apple's doing something else. All these gesture-based apps, Clear, Wag, Rational, Listen, Spark, and more, they all have different set of rules when it comes to gestures. So even if you take time to learn how to use one of these gesture-based apps, your learning doesn't translate to anything else. And so your learning becomes wasted. Even the apps developed by the same company behave differently when it comes to gestures. And they have a different set of rules, if there are any rules at all. So, when we're working with gestures, we need to look beyond individual apps. We need to look at the whole touchscreen ecosystem and study all the gestures we use on our touchscreen devices and find patterns. Patterns that would allow us to create a system, a set of rules, or language. My clicker died. We forget that gestures are just like words of a language. The reason why sounds coming out of my mouth makes sense to you despite my Korean accent is because we speak the same language. A group of people got together and agreed on a basic set of rules that certain sounds meant certain things and decided to call it English. Of course, that's not really how it happened, but that's what happened over time. So the same condition applies to gestures. We need a basic set of rules to make sure we speak the same language, or to make sure we use the same set of gestures. So, in our company, Gestures Inc., we decided to define that language first before building any gesture-based apps. So we looked at all the gestures being used on touchscreen devices and found those patterns. And we put them together into a simple language that would allow us to systematically assign gestures to various functions of the apps that we build, so that every gesture is consistent, logical, and easy to remember across all the apps and platforms. So if you learn how to use one of our gesture-based apps, you'll be able to pick up and use any of our other gesture-based apps with no problems. We decided to call it Universal Gesture Language. It's actually quite simple. It's based on 3 basic principles. One-finger gestures control primary functions of an app. They tend to be actions or movements. Two-finger gestures control secondary functions of an app, or functions that include manipulating or shifting values, such as increasing or decreasing volume, speed, intensity, size, or shifting degrees or perspectives. Three-finger gestures control tertiary functions of an app, or functions that require confirmation, such as sharing or deleting, things that you don't want to trigger externally. So the third finger works as a safety mechanism. Just like alphabets, it's got the basic principles, but it's simple and flexible enough to be replicated and applied to any applications you can possibly think of. So here's our very first product, Gestures Camera. It's a truly beautiful and intuitive gesture-based camera app that's going to revolutionize the way we capture, manage, and share our live images. You can think of this camera app as a clear window to our beautiful moments in life. And we can capture them effortlessly using simple gestures without the clutter or restrictions we had in the past. You see, today's camera apps, they're still using the same old conventions that originated from traditional camera interfaces, which haven't changed in the past 10 years. So they continue to pile on more and more complex features and settings to claim that they're better than their competitions without making any fundamental changes to improve our picture-taking experience at the fundamental level. So that's what we're changing. By creating a camera app that can truly take advantage of today's touchscreen capabilities. By creating a camera app that's truly meant for touchscreen devices. You can download our camera app right now at gesturescamera.com. We still have a long way to go to build up all the features that we planned out, but we would love for you to try it out. Thank you. And at first, it's gonna feel a little awkward because it is different from your current camera app. But once you get used to it, you'll never go back to using your old camera app. That's a promise. I'm not saying it because it's my camera app, but get my money. I do like my camera. It's my promise. So what I'm sharing with you today is not complex or expensive software or high-tech fancy device, but just a few simple conventions anyone can implement to create beautiful and minimalist interfaces, efficient and effortless interactions, and consistent and logical touch-based digital experiences. So I would like to invite all the designers and developers to join us and try it out for themselves. You can download our gesture language guidelines from our website, thegestures.com. And once we complete our social network, we'd love to also share our organic information structure algorithm as well. So this is a paradigm shift, a fundamental change in the way we interact with our digital space. It's time for us to let go of our left and 3 steps to the right. Just like this polar bear, there is really nothing that's holding us back but ourselves. If you can just let go and take a step forward, I believe there's going to be a whole new world of exciting things waiting for us just around the corner. Thank you. Actually, these are my team members at our company. So Roy Mitsuoka, he's our research person. Rob Angel, he's our head of technology. Willow, he's our director of iOS development. And Robert, he's our social and public relations person. And Austin, he's our gestures photographer. So he actually travels around the world and taking pictures. He just took some pictures at Disneyland last week, so he's going to be showcasing them online on our Instagram page, instagram.com/gesturescamera. So please feel free to come and check it out sometime next week. Thank you. Any questions, comments, feedback? Yes.
So you talked about how the UGL, right, the new language, and people stumble because we don't quite know what we're doing because it's not universal.
Right.
So how do you propose to establish that knowledge in the public domain? How do you propose that we teach or educate, or how can I learn this thing when I want to do that?
Apparently that's like the most popular question after a presentation. So I was expecting that. Yeah, so because we're a small company, I'm currently working for a bigger company for my full-time job, but my startup company is small. So all the way for us to allow people to accept our methods is to create something amazing, something that's unique, something that just compels people to learn how to use. So that's what we're doing with our Gestures camera app and our social network, something that doesn't exist yet. So if you want to experience that whole experience, you're going to have to learn that gesture language. And it's so simple, so it doesn't take much to learn how to use it. So that's how we handle the distribution of our methodology. And we would love to partner with more designers and developers if they're open to using our methodology as well. So, yeah. Next question? Yes?
I have a question about context. So when I pick up my phone and I turn it on, I know that 2 swipes to the left will get me Google Maps.
Right.
I pick up my husband's phone, I try to find Google Maps, but at least I know that if I keep going sideways, I'll eventually find it. So this idea of having sort of this beyond the screen universe, how will users find context in that so that they don't get lost in the big space?
So the way arranged itself is that it's based on how we, in case of the home screen, it's based on how we use it. So the most recently used items will appear closer to the center, and the items that you use more would appear bigger. So there'll be a maximum size. But
so how do you find the thing that you don't use very often? Because it could be way out there, or it could be way over there, but you don't know which direction to go.
so the beauty of the organic information structure is that it's flexible. So if you want to do a quick search to find it, it's always the search is tap away. And the way it's designed is that I'm not trying to completely replace the list view as a grid views. We're going to dealing with a set amount, just a few small amount of information. Like let's say you're looking for shoes online, and there are 10 things you want to look at. Then list view is more feasible option because it allows you to see everything all at once. But when you're dealing with a large amount of information, where you don't care about how many pieces of information are there, all you care about is what's most relevant to me. In that case, organic information structure is a better suitable option for you. So if you're trying to find an item that you haven't used in, let's say, 2 weeks, and it's far away in the universe in the organic view, you can quickly switch over to a list view and scroll down, or use a search bar. Use a search bar to quickly locate that one app that you haven't used in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
I think the concept of gesture is important. There's a lot of consistency across everyone around the world.
Can you speak up, please?
What?
Can you speak up, please?
Yes. Sorry. But when you live abroad, and you travel a lot, different gestures don't mean the same thing.
Right.
From culture to culture. And yeah, there's certain things like hi. Waving your hand always means hi.
Right.
Sure. Except maybe not. How would you account for inconsistencies across very different cultures?
Right. So just like regular languages that we speak, there is going to be variations based on the regions or different parts of the world. But what we're trying to do is to at least in this digital world, within these boundaries of the United States, that's what we're trying to establish the consistency in. But I'm aware that there's going to be variations when it comes to dealing with other countries and stuff like that. So we'll get there when we get there.
They're getting a common platform eventually.
Right.
That you learn.
Yeah.
This gesture always means this. No matter what country you're in.
Yeah, I think there is a more forgiving nature in the digital space. When it comes to the reality, like culture and gesture-wise, there are a lot of differences. But when it comes to digital space, it's for some reason people are more prone to learning certain ways. So let's say the US comes up with cool technology, then when India adopts that technology, then the standards that the US has come up with becomes a standard in India because they just adopted it. So that could be the case as well. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm probably the only filmmaker, not UI guy here, so excuse me if my questions are completely off base. But this is obviously really beautiful, but almost kind of intuitive. If you think about it, I mean, mobile devices have only been around. How long have you had the iPhone? 7 years?
Personally, I 6 months. I've been Android.
But the idea of the language of a touchscreen hasn't been here that long. We think about the whole history of computing, and that, when it came out, was incredibly revolutionary.
Yeah.
So I think evolving to this is really kind of, in a sense, a no-brainer. What seems to me, though, is interesting is that, is this really a matter of, like, apps, or it seems to me that this is really like a different OS.
Actually,
I mean, that's what you're trying to do, and that's how everything would be the same as you sort of work it. That's what this really should be.
Yeah, so when I initially, part of the videos you saw today, actually there are bits and pieces from my initial video called Morning Dew. That's what I call my operating system idea. That was my codename for operating system. And then it was more of a hobby of mine to come up with ideas, a new way to interact with the digital space. But then that's when I realized that the rigid traditional interface structures don't work well with the organic structure anymore. The button-based interfaces So that's when I decided to explore more gesture-based experiences. That's when I realized there is no consistency and people are confused about how to use gestures. So that's when I started working on standardizing and thinking of ways to making things more consistent.
But when you think about like designing an app, you're constrained to the whole methodology that the OS sort of wants you to think in.
Right.
And the real way to get to this place is to design a completely different OS. I mean, that changes what you want.
That's actually like our long-term goal, really. So to give you guys like our information from our business pitch deck is that I usually don't tell a lot of people our long-term goal because people laugh at me. So somebody once told me that you're trying to put a monkey in a rocket and shooting into the moon. So I mean we have big dreams, but I've sacrificed a lot for my company. I sold my car, moved into my parents' house. I just got married. I moved into my parents' house with my wife. She's not happy, but she's. So like.
But she gets her picture and all.
Yeah. 90% of my income goes into my startup company, so it's a big sacrifice I'm making. And what I'm working towards is not something as grand as shooting a monkey into the moon. I wouldn't make this sacrifice. That's how I see it. And to answer your question about the operating system, so what we're trying to do is to create all the basic apps, the essential apps that people need in their digital life, like keyboard, camera, social network, and music app, writing and drawing app. We're going to be creating all those apps based on a gesture language, and then we're going to be using them as the moving parts for our future next generation operating system. That's our long-term goal.
I've got a comment just to add to what you were saying about your paradigm shift, your whole new way of thinking and trying to change the old methods that we've grown accustomed to. And I think just the very nature of being an inventor and a designer, you're coming up with something new. So automatically it's going to get resistance. You're going to cause confusion. You're rocking the boat. You're changing things. People don't like that,
Right.
So, but the thing is, I think what's really helpful is the philosophy of you don't have to please the whole world. You don't have to satisfy everybody's different nuances and needs. You just have to please enough people to make a profit and grow your business.
Yeah, that's how I see it. It's really challenging because I just put the app in the App Store, and there basically people who love it. Like I have professional photographers with 20,000 followers using the app like every day and tagging us. Meanwhile, there are people in the App Store complaining that I don't have two hands, so I can't use it. Like because when you go to the gallery section, there are certain features that require two hands. So the reason is that using two hands for certain functions is more efficient. So that's why I require two hands to do certain features. But there are comments like, I don't have two hands, I'm disabled, so I can use that. There's comment about, a lot of comments don't even make sense, but they give us like one-star ratings. So,
You can't get bogged down with everybody's requests, everybody's wishes.
Yeah, so I completely understand. Like, I'm on the same boat with you. So I have to be able to filter out certain things and be able to focus on long-term vision. People actually enjoy the app. That's when I know that when professional photographers, when I see them using it and enjoying using it, that's when I know I'm going the right direction. So hopefully it works out.
So it's a comment and then a question. So with wearables becoming kind of the next new industry, right? A lot of the screen will just go away.
Right.
So how do you anticipate, when the I/O is no longer a screen, right, and is flexible or is transparent through the world that you're actually seeing through augmented reality? And then my second question is kind of related to it, but no matter what these devices are that we're using, right, it really comes down to the training of and the education in those first, that first initial use and kind of building up so somebody does, feel comfortable using that structure. And so how do you manage that within your application?
And so Apple just got a patent revision that talks about. So if this is the iPhone, they have a patent that talks about projecting off the iPhone so you can interact with the space outside the device. And there is a device that MIT came out with called the Sixth Sense. So it's a necklace that you wear, and it projects projections to wall any surface. You can interact with that visual space with your fingers and voice recognition. So those things are actually happening, and it's going to happen pretty soon. So the gesture language that we're proposing is not just limited to the touchscreen devices. So what we recommend is that if there are gestures that are efficient and relevant, that we use in our reality. For example, when we try to close something, we close it like this. Or when you try to stretch something, you go like this. If those gestures are relevant in your app, then you should definitely use those gestures. But in our guidelines, we have guidelines on how to assign more abstract gestures to still make it consistent and still and make it efficient in a way it doesn't get in the way of you interacting with the projections of the touchscreen devices. Does that answer your question? Or yeah. No.
So I may be the only data research geek in the room, maybe not. But, so I'm curious, like I don't disagree, this is beautiful and extremely intuitive, so it all makes sense to me, but I'm really curious about the research that led you to this design.
Right.
And actually any post-research as well, you know, taking on users actually interacting.
So how it started was that I was working on an app for grocery store, a big grocery store. Well, it's strange. Really big one. Starts with S. Yeah.
Now Albertsons.
So they asked us to design a innovative shopping experience. So there were 5 guys put into a boardroom like for 2 weeks. It smelled like Chinese food and feet, but so at the end of 2 weeks, we pulled away with all the wireframes on the board, and I just realized that we were just drawing boxes instead of boxes. And we're shuffling them around and calling it innovation. So I told the guys, like, what if, all these pieces of information don't have to fit in the physical dimension of the mobile device? And they kind of looked at me like, weird. What are you talking about? And I just came up with it at the time, so I was like, I don't know. So, they just went back to their work, and I got frustrated, and I decided to explore different options. So that's how I started exploring designing the interface more organically based on the relevance. So I tried to remove all the structures that get in the way of us seeing the information in a multi-dimensional way. For example, Facebook on the newsfeed, you're looking at the information one-dimensionally. You can only see it by popularity or by the recency. It's one-dimensional information. You can let it scroll up and down. But when you get that grid or these few structures away and organize information organically, and what you get is that now you have visuals of other information around the one main information that's most relevant to you appearing in the center based on different calculations based on the algorithm they came up with. So now you can see different dimensions of that information, not just by the recency or the popularity, but you get bits and pieces of information all at once visually without having to look at the details of how many likes does it have, how many shares does it have. You get that gist of what kind of information you're looking at by looking at, for example, the size of the post. If the post is popular, it will appear bigger than anything else around it. It's just that it's more popular than any other items around it. At the same time, you get what's behind it, what's the older post, what's less relevant to me, and you get the sense of So, but what I'm trying to say was that the organic structure opens up this experience where you can quickly absorb different dimensions of information quickly.
Sure, I understand that about 3D concept and depth and sizing and everything like that. That makes perfect sense. I use the charts all the time. But I'm more specifically talking less about a product and more about your concept. So, for instance, like, what tells you that a circle is more engaging or understandable than a square or a squirrel?
Yeah, so the reason why I use circles is in this design per se. Like, so what I'm trying to say was that there's no black and white or absolute. That you have to use a square or a circle. The reason why I use a circle up here is that by nature, circles visually it's easier to overlap things on top of each other. That when you're dealing with the three-dimensional space, things appear more naturally without awkward spaces between different items when things are circular as opposed to rectangular. When you have two rectangles items next to each other or slightly off, you have this desire to want to align them. And when there's an awkward space between 5 different items, you want to be able to arrange them so that it's spaced out perfectly. But when you're dealing with the circular shapes, somehow human nature, the mind, has a little more forgiving, a little more for the circular shapes. That's why circular shapes are used for the blending palettes, or the color palettes, or anything that involving overlapping in artwork.
I think my main question is, it's a great language for everybody to learn and to adopt. How do you really think about, what's your plan of really taking over and become the standard? What's your plan of, becoming the actual standard of the gesture language?
So I think that's the same question that Brandon asked earlier, but I can elaborate quickly. So because we're a small company, what we're trying to do is to, instead of trying to make bigger company follow us, all we can do is to create something that's unique, that's mind-blowing, things that didn't exist before. So if people want to experience this new experience that we're proposing, they're going to have to learn how to use our app, meaning that learn how to use our gesture language. So that's one way we can help people adopt the new methodology. But at the same time, I'm open to working with other developers and designers to help them implement our methodology in their design as well.
Are there standard defining bodies in UX community? Like the IEEE? Have you guys contacted?
So we just filed like provisional patents on everything. So the reason why we're doing the patent work is not to prevent other people from using it. We're doing it so we can protect ourselves from the bigger competitions. So we're willing to distribute for free, but we have to protect ourselves from the Samsung, Google.
You have a bunch of questions over here.
I'm sorry.
Don't neglect this time.
In mine, just to kind of back up and say, I would say it's sort of a natural progression of language to present new ideas packaged in familiar ideas. I mean, that's the nature of metaphors. Going back to Byzantine art and iconography inside of churches and stuff, if you studied art history, you see complex ideas were represented in an icon that got simplified repeatedly.
Right.
And that happens in Asian cultures. The whole nature of the language has a root based on symbols, right?
Yeah.
And that used to take generations. And now we see this happening like with iOS and flat design. We're going from skeuomorphism, which was this very overt, even overboard representation based on things we're familiar with, to a more abstracted version of those same ideas.
Exactly.
At the same time, so things get abstracted, okay, away, and I think that's kind of the risk of gestures is it getting abstracted. At the same time, I think Josh Clark did a presentation called "Buttons Are a Hack," in which he's saying that the whole nature of buttons and the mouse and all this stuff is because we couldn't do a touch screen in the beginning, which was more natural, right? So
just like the shift key. Like the reason why shift key existed was because there is no way for us to interact with that letter that we just typed in
Right.
to make it uppercase.
So I guess my question is, how do you approach it so that you're taking more advantage of, like you said, the stretch? That's one, that partly answered my question. So that you're taking more advantage of the natural, kind of real world interactions, consistent with you know, the physical reality, and avoiding getting into abstractions that just create more chaos. I mean, do you have a rule for how to do that?
Yeah, actually, it's mentioned in our guidelines. So, in a gist, what it says is that first you need to look at the app or any experience you're building, and create categories. So, first, how many sections are in your app? What are the experience you're building? And in each section, what kind of functions or features do you want? And those functions, what kind of functions are they? Are they more about actions or movements, or manipulating value, or is it about things that you don't want to trigger externally, like the sharing or deleting? So once you separate, once you categorize the functions and separate them into different buckets, then our gesture language allows you to assign various gestures to those functions logically, so that when you're done with all the gesture assignments, then you're gonna end up with a consistent gesture-based experiences from page to page, from apps to app that you build.
I guess the follow-up is, going through this, how much have you found that you're able to take advantage of what seem kind of real-world interactions versus those spots where, well, you really couldn't find a match for this and you have to kind of make up something? I mean, is there a percentage, or is it 50-50, or is there?
My personal experience, I mean, so far we've built 2 apps and 5 wireframes for different products. So far, we haven't really run into that issue too much. Probably I would say 50-50. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a huge opportunity is what we're
Yeah.
Quick comment
Yes.
on shapes. So circle, triangle, square. In animation, the circle is friendly, triangle is usually mean, square is usually dumb. These are also your angry birds. Here are 3 circles. Yeah. If I do this, I have the silhouette of Mickey, and the original Mickey Mouse had tons of circles, so a circle is very friendly, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's another argument that I just learned today.
I can't help but think of the theremin and the musical instrument, the theremin, which relies upon gesturing to make music happen. And that's been around a while.
Yeah.
But when was the last time you went to a theremin concert?
Unfortunately, there's not that many professional theremin players.
Well, and so, it makes me think there's really something to the tactical, though, that that sticks with the human experience. As far as human experience, we can gesture all we want, but there's something to the actual tactile experience. And so why aren't thermins just taking over the world?
I'm not sure what theremin is actually.
You need to look that up.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
Isn't that a Star Trek instrument?
No, it's
No.
Well, I don't know. Go listen to the song "Good Vibrations" from the Beach Boys. There's a theremin in there.
Have you seen the movie Prometheus?
Not yet.
I was just wondering if, looking at the science fiction shows you're inspiring your OS, an alien will try to navigate and map his journey throughout the galaxy. It's just infinite.
Right.
The other question I had, I'm sorry, is how this is very graphical and everything. How do you see it applying to like email or data records that aren't objects or like graphical?
So in a gist, first you have to look at if the app or whatever you're trying to build is it dealing with a large amount of information or a small amount of information. If it's a small amount of information, then listing your grid view will do just fine. It would be actually more efficient to do it that way. If you're trying to build a shopping experience where you're dealing with thousands of search results or a social network where you see millions of different feeds popping in every second. If you're dealing with that stuff, that organic structure is a more sensible option.
So if you have an operating system, you see you have an app that's more traditional for some uses, you're saying?
Yeah, so this so interface you saw today is designed to be flexible, so you can go from the organic view to list view, the grid view, with the touch of a button, with a touch of gesture. So.
One of the things that this reminds me of a lot is the whole concept of mind mapping.
Yeah.
And it strikes me that a mind mapping app to organize your information in this format would be amazing.
Yeah, actually, there's an app called Prezi, and it's what they have done is that it's an infinite amount of digital space where you can zoom in and out and plot things wherever they want. So it allows you to design things, create things, add things without having to worry about making space, adding more pages. So it really frees your mind from worrying about the technical stuff, allows you to really let things out from your head.
Tom, quick question. In your language, is everything touch or finger based, or like take advantage of like an accelerometer to go with like a flip or anything like that, or really gesturing it more?
Yeah, we haven't covered the accelerometer aspect. It's more right now. It's It's currently limited to finger gestures, but right now I kind of mentioned that at the end of my the guidelines that says if there are other suggestions, it's basically open-ended. It's not. I'm not the end-all be-all person who dictates the rules. So I'm just basically I've created something and sharing with people. It's basically an evolving project. So.
Though you did use the shake gesture to bring up the guide.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with the camera app.
Yeah, so if you're frustrated, just
shake.
Let's do 2 more questions and then some networking time. One over here.
Yes.
I just wanted to know that once you describe this concept of the grid system, a system where you can navigate in a with a circle grid, and which is still 2D but more less rigid. Whoever has interacted with this kind of system, any specific feedback that you've got from them, whether it was intuitive, less intuitive, more intuitive. Because as she pointed out earlier, it is a matter of getting used to also. But at the same time, does it come naturally to you? Because it should in a way, because circle, like we're all discussing, is an easier form.
Yeah.
And I agree, and I'll come to the next question, the connected part of it. But first of all, have you had any specific feedback about how it comes to that?
So that's the challenging part about what we're building, because we're building something that doesn't exist yet. It takes a lot of gut to make decisions, because you can't always find the users that are open to trying something new. So a lot of users, until they have something in their hands, if you just ask them in an abstract way, like, would you like this feature? And most of the time they're like, I don't know what you mean. Or they're going to say yes or no without fully understanding what it is. So until we build a complete product and show it to them, it's going to be, I would say, completely guesswork until then.
That was an awesome question.
And the other part of it, I agree that circle happens to be an easier form, so much so that, like, we're talking 3D terms. We're only talking about 2D terms here. We convert it into 3D. Yes, square also happens to be a more stable form and has the least amount of energy required and all of that. So, do you think this whole concept can also be transferred as it is into a 3D device, and the same sort of interaction is possible? And would be easier, perhaps?
Yeah, so the social network, for example, the idea you saw today, we designed it for touchscreen devices because that's the most popular and most portable option. But it's perfectly feasible for for example, lead motion devices or Microsoft Kinect. But they're just not as popular or as portable as a mobile device. That's why which currently focus on the touchscreen devices, but that's we're thinking about three-dimensional space as well.
Yeah, not really a question, but one thing that came to mind when people were asking about being a small company or being an individual or a small shop and trying to get a mass audience to accept something new. One thing I was thinking about is Ultra Refresh, right? That is one developer, one app, for one operating system, and I'm pretty sure everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about, right? So it can happen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
What are the other question? That was a comment.
We didn't hear what he said. What did,
You said, yeah, you can change it. One person can change the world, basically.
what was the example he gave?
Example.
I didn't hear you.
The example I gave was, this one guy came up with pull to refresh gesture. That's being used everywhere now.
Yeah.
So it's possible that I can come up with something that can be used by everybody else.
Very good.
One more question. Yes, sir.
What do you see as the biggest challenge for gestures in the upcoming year? Is it I guess getting by the learning curve with the users, or is it something else?
Financial. Yeah. So I'm literally putting all my money into right now we're spending about $8,000 on development costs every month. So that's beyond my salary. So using up all my savings. So I do 4 jobs. So it's just something I have to do because I believe in it.
So let's have a big round of applause. Again, who here was new? Raise your hand. Awesome. Come on down, sir. You get this. And next month we're back here. It's a really fun talk by Mike Townsend called Introverts and Extroverts. And it's how, if you're extremely introverted, what are some ways that you can work with someone that's extremely extroverted? And if you're extremely extroverted, how can you work with the guy with the red stapler? Right? So it's going to be a very good talk. Now I will warn you, Mike is the extrovert in the room. So it's going to be fun, real fun. There are only 8 seats left. Get on that fast. Now, people change plans and stuff, so usually around 110, 120, so really 28 seats is what I would say. UX Book Club, when does it meet next?
April 12th.
And we are talking on?
The new edition of the Design of Everyday Things.
Right, they meet at La Madeleine and Richardson. I think there's about 25 or 30 people already signed up.
We're at Point Campbell, Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. So that's been growing. That's a really good opportunity. I'll have something up about UX at UTD real soon for that resume portfolio workshop. April 11th is the speakers boot camp. And forgetting something.
The book club is the same day. It's on Saturday, so it's the same day.
If you want to speak at Big Design Conference, you can submit your talk now. It's open. You stand a pretty good chance of, at least, well, a good chance of being reviewed. We only have like 16 or 17, so we're looking at them right now. So get your cards and letters in right away. Big Design is September 5th and 6th. Tickets are on sale now. So what I think we could do is, if you're new, I want Lisa and I will be out there, and you can come talk to us. We can tell you a little bit more information about the group, and we can introduce you to other people. There's plenty of pizza there. There's drinks, and that's it, guys. That's a wrap.
Right. Really quick.
Almost.
Submissions until April 15th for the big design.
Yeah, submissions till April 15th. Okay.
Oh
yeah, Preston.
I work with a friend. We're starting to meet up real soon. Parts. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically kind of a back-end database as a service. So it's very new. We're starting it here in Dallas. I've been talking with the parts people that work with Facebook and met with them. And they're really excited. excited to have a Dallas-based group starting up with that. So
New meetup group called Parse. Where you guys meet?
It'll be the 7th. Will be the first meeting. It's gonna be really small. It's a small group, but you can do all kinds of cool things. Everything from social login to Facebook sharing to building your Instagram dreams.
Get with Preston.
There you go.
Get with Preston. Okay, that's it. Let's do some networking. Okay. All right. See y'all next month.